Good Monday morning. Hey, everybody, what's going on? This is Jeremy coming at you once again with Redtired Podcast, and I brought him back. He's been running around the country a little bit here lately. Went over to South Carolina to go check out his new digs, and now he's finally back in the great state of Texas. Good morning, Jacob Valdez.
Good morning, everyone. How are y'all? How's everyone doing? What's going on? What have I missed?
Everything. While you're out farting around in the woods in South Carolina, I'm over here working.
Yeah, I dropped off the car too. David was nice enough for me to leave the car there, so that one vehicle will not worry about to transfer over there. And listeners, David's a guy I served with honorably with him and a great friend of mine, Donnie. I haven't seen him over 10 years, so it was a great reunion. Also, as well to catch up with some old friends. And speaking of friends, unfortunately, we have some terrible news here with Retired Podcast. We've lost a brother, another one. Another great guy that Jeremy and I served with is Robert Longacre. Unfortunately, we lost him Saturday morning on the 28th of December due to just an accident. You survive the war and something like that, takes a brother away from us. So I don't know. So, all right, one thing I want to say. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy.
It's just a simple car accident. It's that the thing is when you come home, like you think the war is over, like you think you're safe at home. And that's the crazy thing is like, you might survive some really insane stuff, but you still have to keep your guard up everywhere you go. And because there's just a simple car accident that takes somebody out. It's terrible. It's a tragedy. I feel horrible for the family and everybody. But at the same time, it served as a little bit of a reminder for me to, hug my kids a little bit tighter that night. And I know I'll certainly be grieving for the family. I can't imagine what they're going through right now.
Yeah, man. My prayers are out to Amy and the kids, and Retired's here if y'all need anything. That's pretty much it. So end of the year. This is the last podcast of 2019. It's been a long year with Retired, and so we just want to say thank you to all our listeners out there to kind of supporting us, making us keep doing this. We really do like to help other people into gaining leadership skills, gaining that financial freedom, and we're going to continue doing that into the year of 2020. I know I'm going to be taking a break here between February and hopefully by March, I'd be ready to go to jump back into Retired. So that Retired will have to be in Jeremy's hands for a little bit until my transfer from Texas to South Carolina is complete.
Who are we kidding? I run this ship. Speaking of the podcast, though, I gotta drop a knowledge bomb on you here, buddy. There's something that we completely blew past early the month of December.
What's that?
Redtired celebrated its very first birthday.
Oh,
that's right.
I think it was that the 3rd?
We rebooted our very first. We rebooted Redtired from whatever it was that you originally had it. I came on board and we got started with Redtired Podcast 1 year ago on December 3rd. So happy birthday, Redtired! I can't believe we've made it a full year.
Yeah, my birthday passed too on the 28th. I don't know. No one cares about
that. That's complete BS. I sent you messages and everything. I sent you balloons and those little pink flowers that you like so much.
Oh man, dude, I am surprised I live in a good community. When we got home late last night, dude, there's packages literally piled on our door. I'm surprised no one took them.
You can hold those things whenever you go on vacation, right?
Yeah, we were planning on being home early. Just one thing led to another, and we ended up just leaving late last night. Then,
so now this morning, after Jacob gets done with the podcast, he's going to go through his Amazon order list and make sure that everything is there.
Sure, yeah, an inventory.
I trust my friends and neighbors. Just I don't know how much.
Yeah. So before we jump into today's episode, I don't know if you're familiar. Have you ever familiar? I know every state has it and they probably do it differently, but here in the state of Texas, there is an unclaimed property website.
Oh yeah. I've used it.
Yeah. So I check it at least once a month, and I didn't know, with life and everything. I just got so busy with the house. I haven't checked it for a few months, and I checked it late last week, and I found out where I used to live at in San Antonio, they owed me money.
Yeah.
And, real quick, filling out the blanks, and boom, I got a check for $111.
Yeah, there's actually an account that the Texas Comptroller takes charge of anything like that. So if if you've got rent that was supposed to be due back to you, or maybe you paid in too much in taxes one year and they tried to send you a check, but then you relocated and the check never found you, well, then all that, whatever the case may be, when there's money in that certain scenario that's supposed to come back to you, then it goes to the Texas Comptroller and they keep track of all that stuff. And then there's an account that just sits in a bank, and that money right there just sits until you come back and claim it. I did it a couple of, I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago now, where I had, I was just going through and like cleaning up and getting financially responsible and all that. And somebody had said, go to this website, check it out, make sure that your state's comptroller doesn't have any money that they owe you. And I was like, I wondered, did I ever overpay for anything? And of course I did. It turned out that I had overpaid for like $300 or $400 on something. And then there was that money just sat there.
Yeah. It would be great if it earned interest.
And realistically, that would be awesome. It's almost as bad as the Social Security Ponzi scheme, but yeah, it would be amazing if it actually earned interest. But let's not hold our breath here.
Yeah. What's funny? I bet you it does earn interest, and comptroller keeps it until you claim the money.
Well, that's possible as well. Good God. I mean, there's so many things that the government does with tax. I talked about this. This is a little off topic with the comptroller issue, but the taxation thing, we're always talking about taxes. People are like, oh, we need to raise taxes. We need to, just like, it blows my mind. Right. So on one of the last podcasts I had with Jake Tenike and Bill Tenike. So I had both of them in here. And by the way, he's a giant dude, big guy. He's like 6'5", huge. And they all come from big people, but we got to talking about taxes on churches. And he was actually like, don't you think that churches should pay taxes? And I kind of stood the opposite perspective on that. I actually disagree that churches should pay taxes, because I'm a little bit of an anarchist when it comes to taxation. I think the government should, rather than be given more money to handle problems, learn to budget. What's your take on that?
To be honest, I think it's unfair for, like, if you have multiple branches of churches, I think after you expand to a second location, you should be charged taxes.
So you're a communist?
No.
Socialist.
I think everyone should do their fair share when it comes to paying tax. I'm paying taxes, and it's crazy how some of these establishments, like the church and stuff, get this prime real estate and they're exempt from paying property tax and all this stuff. And so I think now at this day and age, especially here in the state of Texas, I love what Greg Abbott's doing, but I don't think he's doing quite enough to lower it. And I think if the church did their fair share, I think it would lower our burden as well.
You sound like a Democrat. No, hear me out. You just used the words fair share. Yeah, you did that. You just did that.
No, but when it comes to, I understand why it was there to begin with when we first started as a country, but I think it kind of outgrew itself.
So for a little bit of context here, Jacob doesn't go to church. He's a heathen. And second of all, now let me throw my curveball at you. All right. So I did this with him. I want to throw this at you too. Now there's some people within the system that obviously I take issue with. Okay. One of them being who's that guy out in Houston, the big mega church pastor. I forgot his name now off the top of my head.
I'm talking about with
the curly hair, and he's always talking about prosperity and everybody should be rich and all that. Yeah, I don't look at him like he's a preacher, but he was saying, well, don't you think that guy he makes way too much money and off of the backs of other people who give their money and blah blah blah, and so I turned it and I said, well, if you look at the nonprofit organizations. Right? Because this is what a 501c3 actually is. A church is a nonprofit organization under the 501c3 status with the IRS. So you take that ideology, right? when a church takes in a tithe or money that's being given, it's essentially a donation. So when you look at it from that understanding, now you're pushing for taxation on dollars that have already been taxed. Okay. So that's one issue I take with it. The other issue is what the church actually does. Now, for the argument's sake of it, one of the things that my church is, this is anecdotal here, one of the things that my church has done here recently, they took a whole bunch of money for the Christmas season and they went to Abilene ISD. Now there's two school districts here in my city, and Abilene ISD by the numbers happens to be the poorer of the two. They went to Abilene ISD and they found all the children who had negative lunch accounts or zero balance lunch accounts or whatever, and they paid to settle all of those lunch account debts for the families in the community. Right? Now, if we were in a situation where churches were being taxed on donations, then they probably wouldn't have been able to do that. So instead of that money going to the people, then the money goes to the government. So
see, my problem is though too is, and I understand what you're saying, your church is probably a great church, but not all churches are great. Some people are crooked.
Yeah, but then who do you decide who gets the right to say
that? I don't know.
See,
I would hate to add another portion of government. I hate the government, and I don't want someone to overwatch, an organization like the church and stuff. But it's sad that, us as taxpayers, we have to worry about stuff like that. Because again, your church is a good church, but some people hide under the fallacy of the church, and they do evil things with that money, or selfish things with that money. And so I understand. I actually do. Now you kind of get clarity. I got some clarity out of it. So it's not the church. It's the person that we have to worry about that controls that money.
Well, and it's not just one person. A church is actually supposed to have, there's human factors, of course, but the church itself is actually supposed to have a board of directors. It's not just the guy that stands up on Sunday morning and preaches. If it's just that one guy, then you have a problem within the establishment of the church in general. Okay, so there's supposed to be a financial committee. There's supposed to be a board of directors, or not directors, but elders, people who have walked the walk and understand how all this stuff works. So there's a huge level of oversight, or there's supposed to be a huge level of oversight within this church. If there's not, I wouldn't be going to that church in the first place. But obviously, when you take an example like I forgot his name again, Joel Osteen. There you go. Yeah. When you take an example like Joel Osteen, when you get so big, everything comes under scrutiny. Absolutely everything. And I don't have access to their books. I'm sure though that there's plenty of transparency. And within the church, every church that I've ever been to, if I wanted to know what was going on with the budget, I could just go look. It's not a secret. There's no mixed messages, no hidden agendas. If there is, then yeah, I wouldn't be donating my money there. I wouldn't be tithing there. It's kind of like, well, duh. But
I think that's where the uneducated comes in, because they don't probably do that. They just find an establishment near their home or whatever, and they go.
Sure.
And not really doing their homework and where the money goes.
Sure. But, and again, a lot of that donation stuff, it becomes a hard issue as well. Yeah. The other side of it is if you're going to take churches, for example, and start putting a tax on churches, what's to stop them from doing the same thing for like paying the fair share for like disabled veterans like me who don't pay property taxes because I'm a disabled vet? It's not fair. Really, it really isn't, because by those numbers, I should probably pay more property taxes, support the schools and blah, blah, blah. But then you get into the whole school choice and why we're forced to have our kids in certain schools, and and then it just goes down a rabbit trail further. And so I don't know if I've convinced you or not, but I'm obviously on the side of leave these.
No, you convinced me. I got it now, because it is not the organization's fault. It is the person.
Right.
And it's our responsibility as the person who decides to pick a church to look at stuff like that.
Good talk. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, there you go.
So there's that one other
Speaking
thing.
of church, man, what happened in Texas?
Yeah, that was the next thing I was going to talk about. There's that thing that happened yesterday. It was a church shooting in White Settlement, not actually terribly far from your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
And I actually watched the video because this thing was live streamed, and so the video was captured. It's out there. It's out there forever. And so a friend of mine sent the video yesterday, and you know me, let's do some after action. I want to see what could have gone better, what could have gone worse. And honestly, I don't think anything could have gone any better, with the exception of, you know, the two people getting shot. But beyond that, something that bothered me about this whole situation is it's not getting a lot of media coverage in the way that I think that it should. And I brought this up with you earlier. I'm going to bring it up again.
Besides Beto's dumb butt and doing what he does best.
Oh, yeah, pandering on Twitter. The Twitterati speaks up again. But the guy who actually stopped this whole shooting he's actually a very impressive fellow. His name was Jack Wilson. And I wouldn't have even known about him had I not just pulled my phone up and started scrolling through Instagram and Facebook this morning. But so here's a little bit of information on this guy. So there were many licensed to carry personnel in the church. The first victim was gunned down while he was drawing his pistol. Jack Wilson was the one who pulled the trigger. This post says, "Thank you to Jack Wilson for saving so many lives and using your skills and knowledge to do it. The hero who put down the Texas church shooter. Please help me share and give him support." Jack Wilson is the owner of On Target Shooting Academy. From approximately 50 feet, Jack drew his weapon under pressure and fired one shot into the terrorist's swiftly moving head in just 2 seconds, which I can confirm. I watched the video. I saw the whole thing. He was a great distance away for a pistol, and it was an amazing shot. And of course, to the dear family members of the who are aching for the loss of the parishioner member of this church, our prayers are with you. May the God of peace bring comfort, wisdom, and strength to your broken hearts. This has been so hard to see this information shared, but we want to share our gratitude for the story being allowed to be shared. This enforces what happens when law-abiding citizens' rights are not infringed. Now, Jack Wilson, I thought, okay, I'm not just going to put this information out there. We got to know, right? So I go to the Google machine. Where do we go? We got to look. We go to the Google machine. First thing I get when I get to the Google machine, I punch in. The first thing I got when I get to the Google machine is I punch in Jack Wilson, Texas church shooting. Guess what comes up?
Nothing.
A whole lot of nothing. So I got an article from heavy.com, which they are apparently a pretty reputable news source. I wouldn't compare them with the big dogs, but then the big dogs are lying all the time anyways, so who cares? Another one I got was one from Washington Examiner, and the third one was the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, so more local. After that, it goes into a bunch of stuff that has nothing to do with nothing. OregonLive.com, the departed stars, innovators, and scoundrels from Oregon and beyond who died in 2019. Like, who cares about that? That has nothing to do with this. So I thought, okay, maybe I did something wrong. So I'll try it again. And then I Googled Texas church shooting Jack Wilson. Well, the same thing come up. Well, I got one other article from The Hill. The Texas man is one of the Texas man named as one of the white settlement church, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so maybe it's Google, right? I'm thinking like something's amiss here, because you should be giving this guy a lot of credit for what he did. He's a hero. So I went to Yahoo, and then I searched. I can't say Googled because I Yahooed Jack Wilson, and I got the heavy.com article, and that was it. And then there's a Billy Madison clip from 1995. How that got in there, I don't know. Yes, and I'm searching this in the news section.
Billy Madison, you talking about the one with Adam Sandler?
Yeah. There's a Billy Madison clip. It's like the fourth one down in Yahoo. And so,
oh my God,
I'm like, okay, all right. Let's get off the big dogs. I'll go check out DuckDuckGo, because they're the ones that are like, very private. We want your privacy, blah blah blah. So I searched Jack Wilson, Texas church shooting. on DuckDuckGo. And I also searched Jack Wilson. And all I got was the Heavy.com article, a Daily Mail article, a Washington Examiner article. That's it. I only got 3 articles on this guy. Now, that kind of bothers me a little bit, because if you go into the Google machine and you Google, say, Texas church shooter, what comes up? Fox News, Dallas Morning News, Fort Worth Star-Telegram, the New York Times, CBS Dallas-Fort Worth, NBC.com, NPR, The Hill, TMZ. Why TMZ is even a news source is beyond me. KTR, RKTV, and they're all talking about how many people were dead. Some of them show the video. Some of them go into great detail about the shooting itself, where it was at, white settlement, blah, blah, blah. Why in the world are we blowing up all of this negativity on the internet and in the media, and we're not praising the guy who stopped the whole thing? Granted, this is kind of a rhetorical question. You don't have to have the answer, obviously, but we have to.
No, yeah, you brought up a good point. Like, there's nothing about because he used the firearm. I would say that would be the only reason.
Yeah. And that pretty much boils it down to the bottom dot. The media doesn't want the American people to know that a good guy with a gun stopped a bad guy with a gun, because we've seen this time and time and time again. You remember the last church shooting that took place not terribly far from your hometown, San Antonio.
Oh, yeah.
A good guy with a gun stopped the bad guy with a gun. Did that get any coverage in the media whatsoever?
Nope.
Do you know that guy's name?
Nope.
Neither do I.
Not my memory, no.
Because it wasn't covered. Because the media has an agenda. And I get it. We're all tinfoil hat over here, but we have to call it for what it is. If you're reading the media and you're thinking you're getting the full story, you are a fool.
Yep.
So my 2 cents on this is, screw the rest of it. Jack Wilson, you're a hero, and you did right. You did. Yeah, that's what a true-blooded American should have done. He should have dropped the enemy with full force. I don't have an ounce of sympathy for the shooter.
But he's an American too. How is he an enemy?
You know what? Let me tell you something about that.
That's something they would say, though.
Yeah, that's something that some people would say. You want to have sympathy for the enemy who's taking other people's lives. But there's also another thing that we gotta put out here. So the guy walks into the church with a shotgun. Okay. Now, you and I have been in some tactical situations from time to time. I know what I'm carrying into combat, and I know what I'm not carrying into combat. So let me ask you this. You're going into a situation where you want to take as many lives as possible. Are you going in there with a pump action shotgun?
No.
How many rounds does a pump action shotgun hold? 6+1 at most?
By law. Yeah, unless you
go get one of those really fancy combat shotguns, then you can hold 12 rounds +1 or 14 +1.
Yeah.
But the guy walked in with a shotgun. What does that tell you about his mental state?
But it was an assault weapon, I thought.
Oh, yeah.
At least that's what the media was telling me.
You're right. The shotgun was black. So what does that tell you about his mental state in the first place?
It's not there.
It's not there. You cannot be thinking in any form or fashion, tactically speaking, I'm going to go in and take as many people as I can with me, but I only have 6 rounds.
So have they investigated this guy? Is he right wing, left wing? Because most of these mass shooters are left wing anyways.
That's a good question. And I don't think there's been, as far as I know, there's not been anything new as far as that goes. I haven't had a chance to read too deep into all that just yet because we're here. But it does kind of beg the question, like, what was the agenda? What was the motive? Are you just mad at church people? Are you mad because they're not paying taxes? Jacob.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I know it's got to be a difficult thing for somebody like you to go set foot in a church, catching fire and all that stuff. They got fire extinguishers there. You're more than welcome to come join us anytime. But at the you got to ask these difficult questions like, why aren't we getting any coverage on the guy who stopped the shooter?
Mm-hmm.
Why is that being ignored? We're in an age where nobody trusts the media anymore.
Nope.
The Walter Cronkites of the past are long gone. Any thoughts?
I would like to know more about the shooter. Was he a member? Was his ex-wife there or the new husband? No one talks about this.
That was an interesting reach.
But hey, or was he bought by the Clintons to push their anti-gun?
That's probably the most likely scenario.
Vito was like, "Hey, you're not looking too good, man. We'll take care of your family. Here's some money. Shoot a church."
Yeah, you have more. There's a meme going around is you have more risk by dying. What is it? By Clinticide than you do by getting shot by an AR-15.
Like, come on, man.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what was going on in the guy's head.
But it doesn't matter. Regardless, mental health is the issue, not guns.
It might be, yeah, and it very well may be. What if, now, we've had some really crazy stuff. Again, I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on here for just a minute. we had a lot of stuff that was going down like in the 60s and the 70s with with MK Ultra and messing around with LSD and seeing what kind of effects that we could actually have on, the Manchurian Candidate kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that information it's been released. Like, it actually happened. This was actually a thing that the CIA did. They tried to create Manchurian Candidates utilizing LSD. It's not a, and
people are not familiar with this. This is actually real. This is not sci-fi. A while back, it was Project MK Ultra, and it was a CIA mind control program, and that was the code name for that. So if no one is not familiar, when Jeremy said MK Ultra, that was their code name for the so-called mind control. And Jeremy's right; they used drugs, LSD, all kinds of stuff.
Yep, they ran all sorts of experiments on people, and probably college kids, for all I know, who are trying to make an extra buck. You never know who it was.
No, yeah, it was all kinds of stuff. It was LSD and some other chemical, electroshock, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, isolation, verbal, sexual abuse, and other forms of torture.
Yeah, and all these documents, they've been declassified. It's not even up for debate that MK Ultra was a thing, right? So consider that context here, and I've still got my tinfoil hat on now, mind you. And let's look into the future, maybe 20 years. Is there a possibility that maybe they figured something out with this whole MK Ultra crazy crap that we didn't find out? Because, when they declassify documents, they don't really actually release everything. And
nah, man, all of it's all blacked out.
And so if there's some kind of a political agenda or, a push towards socialism or some weird crap like that, it's actually really easy to align a bunch of foolish sheep behind your agenda when, you feel like you're part of a team, right? So the mind control actually takes place at the national level. We've got a bunch of people that simply don't vote because they know, like, it's your team versus mine, and we just don't know. We don't take part in that. And so, bearing in mind, I'm still wearing the tinfoil hat. Is there any possibility that maybe all of these active shooters that keep happening might have something to do with the mind control MK Ultra stuff that was done in the 60s? Maybe they perfected the whole thing, and it was, I don't know, maybe it was one of those things where now they're like, okay, we know exactly what we need to do. We got to get this person get his mind under control, because the mind can be very broken. The brain is very malleable.
Real fast, too.
Yeah.
Yep.
It doesn't take much. You put somebody under duress, they'll break and they'll change and they'll become whatever you want. Look at basic training. That was what basic training was all about, was breaking us down and reshaping the way that we think, the way that we act, the way that we talk, the way that we walk, everything. We were completely transformed within a matter of months. And that was just through a little bit of exercise and a little bit of pressure.
Yep.
So what do you think about? Am I crazy here? Am I being too crazy to think?
No, yeah, you're right though, because one thing a lot of people don't know, there was a lot of thought, in basic training. It wasn't like the Army decided, hey, you know what, 7 weeks it sounds good, or 9 weeks sound good. No, there was a lot of science into this. They hired psychologists, they hired, physical fitness experts, they hire the experts to design a course. There wasn't like, you know what, I want to be an ass, and Ranger School should be 3 months. I think 3 months is perfect.
Yeah.
It's not like one guy sits in a room and decides this.
Yeah. Look at the Navy SEALs, right? The very first, like probably not the very first, but like one of the very first processes that you go through is the mind strengthening process, where the Navy SEALs are forced to sit in freezing cold water for hours and keep each other warm and alive, right? And you can quit anytime you want.
No, they don't. You can ring that bell and leave.
Yep. We don't want you here. You don't have to be here. Do you really think that there's not some form, at least at a very, very basic micro level, of mind control that's taking place within this? Because it teaches you how to avoid discomfort, how to avoid pain. Like you just reroute the brain and say, this is pain. This is what pain feels like. Pain is good. Pain tells me that I'm alive. Remember that? Pain is weakness leaving the body. Mind control.
Yep. You know what's funny though too? I catch myself saying that or telling myself that when I hurt myself.
Pain is weakness leaving the body.
Yeah, that's mind control working at its best.
It is. It's stuck in there, man. You're a soldier. Once you're a soldier, it's in you. It's almost. It's so hard not to come out of the military and continue being a soldier.
And listeners, the reason why we're telling you this is because we decided to adapt MK Ultra into the new year of Redtired. No,
I will listen to Redtired. I will listen to Redtired. I will listen to Redtired.
Yeah, we hired scientists.
Yeah, right. That's in the budget because you know how
it's Bill. Bill's our scientist.
Yeah, they see right through us. All right, I'm going to take my tinfoil hat off. Let's move on to the big topic, the one that you wanted to talk about. So take her away.
What's that? Oh, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just kidding.
This isn't Iraq.
No, but it's the last episode.
Last episode for 2019.
Yeah,
episode number 60.
It felt like it went by fast.
Well, it did go by fast. A year flies. Time flies when you're having fun. And this podcast is actually, it served for me to sharpen a lot of my video and audio editing skills. And I've learned so much in this last year that this podcast has really been, it's been therapy. I get to talk. I just get to sit here and talk, right? And everybody else is forced to listen to me.
Actually, hopefully we got a new listener. I was promoting the crap out of Retired on my birthday get together, and my friend Joel, I was asking him, what kind of music you listen to? He's like, I don't listen. I just listen to podcasts. I'm like, really? Have you listened to mine? He's like, no. I was like, I don't know. I didn't even know you had one. I was like, dude. He listens through Spotify now.
All right. Well, what's his name? Joel.
Joel. One of my oldest friends. We've been friends, I think, since 5th grade.
Well, welcome, Joel. We're glad you're here. Tell more people about us. We need to get our numbers up. We're still working towards that 2,000 downloads. Hey, I got a lot of push-ups to do, man. When that time comes, I haven't forgotten. I've been hitting the gym in preparation. I'm loose and limber. I'm ready to do it.
No, I really would just like to talk about kind of a recap of everything that we've done. And the number one thing I would like to talk about is what we could do. And I want to ask you listeners, if you can, we love feedback, is what we can do better for next year, and when it comes to leadership, when it comes to financial freedom, and just making great choices in life. And also we like to keep you current and not be blinded by the media. So sometimes we'll give you our 2 cents of what we think about what's really going on. And because a lot of people just take what they see or take what they hear, and that's it. They think that's truth. Face
value.
Yeah, and it's not.
Yeah, face value is a horrible thing. You need to dig deeper. It actually kind of what you just mentioned. It kind of bears a little bit of a question here. So let's do that recap thing. Jacob? What have you learned in 2019 just from doing this podcast, or as far as personal development, personal growth? What's something that really stands out to you the most? What's the biggest thing that this has brought up on in your world?
To be honest, two biggest things I could take away. I micromanage the crap out of my budget now. so I know when it goes and where it goes by like the minute. And the second thing is passive income. Oh my God. You know, I didn't know it was so easy to make money.
Oh yeah. Super easy.
That whole project that we did a while back of getting the laptop. If listeners, if you're just joining us, earlier this year, I did Uber. Instead of pulling out of emergency savings or just pulling out, you know, debt out of credit card, I decided to earn the money within a matter of 2 weeks, I think. And I bought a $1,400 laptop without doing just Ubering.
Yeah. And that's not actually
and it wasn't even every day. Yeah, it wasn't even 2 weeks worth.
Yeah, that is an active form of income, but you had the time on your hands. You had nothing going on really. And you just did it well right now. So
I consider it passive because I felt like I'm just driving.
Sorry, you know, that's still an active form.
That's true. Yeah.
Sorry, got it. We got to be correct here. Let's maintain composure.
No, but yeah, just I didn't know. You know, it's so easy to make money.
It is, and now there's certain people that get stuck in ruts, right? So, you know, and I'm not judging somebody who's working their way up the ladder or whatever, or they're flipping whoppers or whatever the case may be. So in our scenario, you know, you being retired, me being retired, it's very easy to kind of find ways to make a little bit of an extra buck. Now, there's an alternate scenario that we got to address where you've got, you know, Junior McBurger Flipper who he's making $7.25 an hour and life kind of sucks right now, but he's trying to work his way out of some debt, or maybe he's got some student loans or whatever. I think probably the best advice that I could think to give that person at that particular point in their life is you got to work 2 jobs. And every penny that comes from that second paycheck, man, knock out your debt, quit living in debt. That's what drags people down. That's what gets people into the rut in the first place. They're like, well, I got a credit card. That's my emergency plan. That's not a plan. That's not borrowing at 17% interest is not a plan. In fact, it's stupid. No. And if you don't, now I'm not Dave Ramsey here. I don't completely hate credit. Okay.
Yeah.
There's times where you can't. Okay. So I don't have $100,000 laying around or $200,000 laying around. I got to borrow money to buy a house. Okay, fine. I'm not going to beat you up over that. So you got to build your credit up a little bit, but you have to do it responsibly. You have to use the credit card responsibly and pay it off every month. Otherwise, you end up working those 2 jobs and stressing yourself out, and you don't have any joy in life. So, and that's how the credit card companies get you. They bounce around and will give you $500 cash back, or will give you 4% cash back. That the 4% is nothing compared to the 21% you got for that same credit card. Yep. And if you're not paying the credit card off every month, then you might think
you're not enjoying the perks.
Yeah, you're not enjoying the perks. Well, but I get frequent flyer miles. Well, yeah, but you're paying twice as much for them than I did. Because you're carrying the stupid debt. Pay it off every month. It's not that hard. Well, I don't have enough money. You don't know what it's like. Yes, I do. When I got out of the Army, I worked at Target making $6.50 an hour, and they only had about 20 hours a week for me. You know how much that sucks? That sucks. But somehow I worked my way out of it. Got a better job, got a better job, got a better job. Just keep applying, keep getting better jobs, keep getting better jobs until you get to where you want to be. And then at some point you'll be making enough money that you can put some money aside, start saving that money up, save it, save. Live on as little as you can. Take all that extra money, go buy yourself a rental property. Okay, now somebody else is paying you. That's passive income.
Oh, and the third thing too I'd like to take away from this podcast is how people, and it's on the opposite side of the spectrum, is how people just want to settle. You remember that girl at Bass Pro? All the tools I was giving her, and she was like, "No, I'm good."
Why didn't you read the book? I didn't have time. What? What do you mean you didn't have time? Oh, you have time.
Yeah, when I asked her, "What were you doing?" "Oh, I was just tired. I just took a nap and just went to sleep."
If you're sleeping 12 hours a day, you've got plenty of time on your hands. There's no way.
I did that. I did that the other day. My son, he went to bed early around 9, and I crashed out. I don't know. I think I was just tired from the flight, the drive, and everything. Dude, I woke up at 11. Elon was still asleep, so I took advantage of that. Dude, I felt so guilty. I felt horrible. I was like, oh my God, it's 11. The whole day's gone.
So I'm gonna sound a little milquetoast fence sitter here for a second, but there's kind of a fine line with this. So I'm not saying don't ever take a nap. That's not that is certainly not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, you absolutely have to have a day of rest. Everybody should take one day a week where they rest. It's biblical. It's good for your physical health, your mental health. It's just all around good for you to just shut down for a day and just chill and do nothing. Everybody should do that because there's actual research and actual evidence to suggest that is really good, really stimulating for your body and your mind and all that. But what I am saying is if you're taking a nap every single day, you're doing something wrong. You got to get a decent amount of sleep. There's nothing wrong with sleeping 8 hours at night. But at the same time, everything that you do matters. Now, this is something that, with the question, how have you grown? This is going to be part of my answer, because something that I've learned here in the past year is what you put in is what you'll get out. Okay. So, I've noticed on several parts of the year where my diet wasn't the best, that I would be more tired or more sluggish the next day or the next 2 days. Whereas when I eat cleaner, the next day I've got more energy. I'm less hungry, so I take in less calories and I'm functioning better overall. So, diet really does matter, but then you also have to exercise. And I've been off and on all year with exercise, but I'm still pushing. I'm still doing it because it's really good for my mental wellness, my mental health, and my clarity, thought processes, everything. And if you want to have those cheat days or those 1 day a week where you do whatever you want, I've got what I call calories don't count Sunday. Okay. So on Sunday, I eat what I want. It doesn't matter if it's good, if it's bad, it's whatever. But then Monday morning, I'm right back to decent foods, decent quality foods. I'm eating the vegetables, I'm eating the fruits, I'm eating the salads, I'm eating lean proteins. And it's such a different level of mental awareness that I never really gave enough credit for. So the fuel that you're using, what you put in is what you'll get out. That same ideology applies to the books you read. This is something that I got from you this year is you got to put knowledge in. You got to seek knowledge at any cost. You have to, where are you going with your life? What's your direction? And if you don't have that direction, then, you're not really going to be focused on what exactly you're reading. You'll probably be sitting over there in the corner reading a Harry Potter book, which, hey, fine. If that's good entertainment for you, great. But what does it do for you? Does it stimulate you? Does it produce something? Does it give you something? Maybe. Yeah, reading the book is probably better than watching the movies. It gives you some mental exercise, some mental awareness, but what do you learn from it?
Yeah, unless you're a writer, reading more nonfiction does help you become a better writer. But then again, yes, you have to make sure that, if you're working at as a business executive at AT&T, you shouldn't be reading Harry Potter. You should be reading How to Become a Better Leader.
Yeah,
or something like that. Use your time wisely.
Yeah, I agree. And so I've gotten into reading more feature or content rich books, the Dale Carnegies and T. Harv Ekers and Tony Robbins and, guys like that who they're not perfect. Obviously nobody really is, but they've got their world pretty well figured out and they know what works for them.
Actually, on my way to, I packed in my bag when I'm on my way to David's, to South Carolina. I packed in General Patton's biography written by what's his name, Harrison. And dude, it was so great. There was so much about him I didn't know and his leadership skills, and I want to adapt some of them, but I did learn something. I took something away from it because George S. Patton is one of the greatest leaders during World War II. Yeah, he slapped a soldier, but hey, things need to get done in war,
dude. Come on. I'm sorry, but if I'm acting out of line, out of character, and somebody slaps me, I'm probably going to thank them more than anything. Now, I might punch them back, but I mean, maybe not a 3-star or a 4-star general at that point. Actually, wasn't Patton the one that promoted himself?
No, but Eisenhower demoted him not by rank but by job. But he kept him in the war.
Well, in any case, he was a great leader, and I'm sure that the book that you were reading had a lot of different concepts and structures and ideologies that you probably had never thought about before when it comes to leadership. So going back to the pink-haired girl that you tried to bring up through the ranks and tried to invest in, she spent so much time doing the things that she felt like she wanted to do. She was willing to sacrifice her personal growth, personal gain, and really her employment with the company in exchange for feel good.
Yeah.
That was it. That's all she was looking for, was the next feel good. And that's this coddled generation. And it's not everybody. It's not, because we do have some really amazing people in this generation. But this young coddled generation that's always they've never had any kind of real adversity. I mean, this girl was, how old was she? What, 19, 18, 20?
19.
Okay. So 19 in 2019, that means when the Twin Towers came down, she wasn't even old enough to remember it.
Yep.
Had no idea about that kind of a conflict. To her, Pearl Harbor and 9/11 were the same thing. She never faced any real adversity, never had to wonder where the next meal was going to come from. She wasn't scared. She wasn't hungry. She didn't want greatness. She wanted just enough.
Yeah, actually, it's funny you brought up Pearl Harbor, because I was talking to a young lady in Vegas, and it was just someone I bumped into, and I just me, I like to talk to people all the time and just get to know them. And I was like, hey, today's December 7th is Pearl Harbor. She's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm like, I looked at my time, and I remember, so we had to get up early. We're eating breakfast. As a matter of fact, I met this lady waiting in line. My wife and I were waiting in line for breakfast early that morning. And I was like, I looked at the time, I was like 7:07. So I was like thinking in my head, what time is it in Hawaii? I was like, well, in 3 hours, the Japanese should be taking off from there. But she had no idea. She was like, I thought it was around nighttime. I'm like, it's just, I know no one will go into that great detail of Pearl Harbor, but everyone knows it was in the morning.
Yeah. At least. Yeah, it's and I don't get too hung up on details like that. Well, what time in the morning was it? Whatever. It wasn't that prevalent in our lives, but some of us still remember that stuff, because Pearl Harbor and 9/11 they're synonymous with one another. They both sparked some very interesting combat situations. And I know I'll never forget 9/11, but I was in basic training when it happened, so I thought it was some kind of a weird doctored footage that the drill sergeants were using to mess with our heads. I'm like, here we go with
that psychological thing again.
Yeah, here we go with the MK Ultra and the tinfoil hat again. And I'm like, oh my God, they're so good at this. How did they do that? But
that's funny.
It was, but we can't forget about stuff like that, because that's what helps to shape us as human beings and who we are and who we're growing into. And we have a generation that isn't old enough to remember 9/11. And it's probably not really even taught in school all that much. It's like, oh yeah, some planes hit the towers and they fell.
Oh, dude, David told me, and David, let me know if you're going to get mad at me. I won't say what school he teaches at, but David told me he has high school kids that think Inglourious Basterds was the outcome of World War II. No joking aside, all joking aside.
Really?
A Tarantino film, they thought it was how World War II played out. And I asked him, because I asked David, I was like, well, why do you hate? He was like, I hate Inglourious Basterds. I was like, dude, that's a good movie. Oh, yeah, well, when you teach kids thinking that thing is real, then you hate it too.
Well, then he's got a point.
Yeah.
Listen, if Hollywood in any way shapes your view of history, you're already messed up. You're already messed up. You done messed up, Ron. Dude, Hollywood, come on. Like,
oh my God.
The explosions that you see in Hollywood alone, or the guy who fires 45 or 50 rounds out of a 9mm and never changes the magazine. Those kinds of things. You know, Rambo shooting, what was it? The
MK6, the M60.
Yeah, was it a Mark 60? He was just carrying it and shooting it.
Yeah.
Are you serious? Like, come on, dude. That ain't happening. Those kinds of things that's Hollywood, man. Hollywood is ridiculous. They have no idea what's going on in the real world. They just pretty it up and they're just making pretty pictures for your dumb eyes to see and thinking that that's what real life looks like. You've seen explosions in Iraq time and time again. I know I have.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't look anything like the Hollywood explosions. Hollywood is big and fireball-y and glitzy and all these sparks flying and all that crap. It's nothing like that. Nothing like that. I don't know. I've been blown up a time or two. It's just a big old mushroom cloud. Lots of dirt, lots of dust, lots of sand. You might see a very, very short flash of a blast.
Now, here's one thing, listeners. What are you planning to do to better yourself in 2020? And don't give me that BS of I want to lose 100 pounds or, you know, this and that. You know, think one thing we've always covered in this podcast is realistic goals. Now, Jeremy, what are you going to do to better yourself for 2020 to improve from the 2019 model of Jeremy to the 2020 model of Jeremy?
I'm going to consume more quality. So, of course, going right back to what I had said earlier, I'm going to consume more books, more high quality foods, and I'm gonna keep pushing myself as far as exercise and the gym goes, because I have goals for how I want to look, and you know, I still have a couple of pounds I need to drop, and it would be really awesome to be able to have some 6-pack abs at the age of 37. I mean, that's not ultimately my goal, really. My ultimate goal is to just make myself healthier and thus making myself happier. But at the same time, I also have to, you know, maintain the budget. One of my biggest goals is to be able to pay off my rental property. And in order for me to do that, my wife has to meet a bunch of her goals and contribute to the budget with her real estate goals and selling homes and whatnot. And she's killing it. She's doing great. But we've got, I haven't done, I just updated again. We've got about $41,000 to pay off on this rental property. And that's a big goal. Man. But
you do that,
but it can be done.
If you do that, Jeremy, I'll do 100 push-ups in front of you.
Boy, that'll be a long day, won't it?
2 days.
One. What about you? What's your goal for 2020? Actually, and oh, by the way, before I forget, these New Year's resolutions, that's not what we're doing. This is continued strategy. I don't do New Year's resolutions, because if you're doing a New Year resolution, you're expecting a new you. Your mindset's already set up for failure. So don't expect a new you. To create a new habit, you have to do it one day at a time. What does it take? 21 days to create a habit? So just if it's eating clean, if it's the gym, if it's reading a good book in the morning rather than turning on your social media, your Facebook, just do it. 21 days in a row. Just do it. Watch. You'll create a new habit and create a new person. So sorry about that. But what's your 2020 outlook?
Well, number one thing is I want to be a better writer. And that's my main goal. And so for that, you know, I'm going to film school, doing that aspect of the filming industry, but I've got a lot of books to read. So that one thing is my main focus, is becoming a better screenplay writer, or, you know, dishing out better scripts, and just becoming an overall better writer. The second thing is no more fast food. I'm done with it. So that's a goal. One of, you know, my big goal. And I think number 3, which I think is the most important goal of 2020, is to relocate my family safely to South Carolina.
Of course. With the fast food thing, let me ask you a question here. Is that just a rule that you're setting now, or because to achieve a goal of no fast food is basically all you have to do is say no over and over and over and over and over again.
Yep.
And here's the problem I see with
to me
a
is
goal
the
like
strength, the will strength.
Yeah. The problem that I see with setting a goal, and I'm not calling you out on this. I'm trying to sharpen you a little bit here. The problem I see with setting a no fast food goal is there's no success. There's only an option for failure. So how do you celebrate the success in a goal like that?
Just eating cleaner, healthier.
So you're going to pat yourself on the back every day you eat a salad? You see what I'm saying? I'm not picking on you.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pick on you. What I'm trying to say is for you to attain a goal of not eating fast food, maybe.
How would you set it up? Maybe teach me here. How would you set it up?
Well, I would set it up as the polar opposite. I would say, in order to achieve my goal, what I'm going to start off with is maybe 2 weeks worth of clean eating. Okay. So if I'm eliminating fast food, what I'm not eliminating is crap food. I'm only eliminating certain types of foods from certain types of restaurants. Okay. So what I would do is I would take the idea behind it and I would say, okay, really what my goal is not so much about fast food and convenience. My actual goal is about health and wellness.
Yeah.
Right. So I would take a calendar and I would just, starting January, obviously, not New Year's resolution or anything, but starting January for 1 week, I would just check off every day that I ate clean, that I ate well. So lean meats or high quality carbohydrates through salads, not that cheap iceberg lettuce crap, but like actual spinach or kale or things like that. And I would count those as clean eating days. Okay. And at the end of the week, I would tally it up and say, oh, look, I missed I missed it on one day. Okay. Saturday, I had a cheeseburger. Damn it. But look at the 6 days that I did, I ate very well these 6 out of 7 days. Now I feel like I've accomplished something. Okay. So take that and then expand it into the 2 week territory. Okay. For 2 weeks, there was that one Saturday that, I ate a cheeseburger and that wasn't the best idea. But for 13 days, I had clean, healthy foods. Now at that point, I do an assessment and I go, okay, well, now how am I feeling? Am I noticing any difference? Did I weigh myself? Have I been more energetic? I haven't taken a nap in 2 weeks. Holy crap. Except for that one day when I ate the cheeseburger, right?
Yeah.
So you do those bigger assessments. You ask yourself the questions and you say, how has this really paid off over the last 2 weeks? When you start to see the payoff, I've got more energy. I've dropped 5 pounds and I haven't been napping nearly as much. My focus is clearer, whatever the case may be. Then all of a sudden I've attained real goals. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So there you go. There's how you're going to avoid your fast food.
No, there you go. That's Jeremy's wisdom right there. You always end it off really good.
Yeah, I try, man, and I want, I can't believe it's 2020. You know what? Hey, the stock market crashed. What is that? 29, almost 100 years ago. We are about to go into the roaring 20s, my friend. So let that sink in as well. Let's try to make 2020 better than 2019 because 2019 was pretty kick ass. I ain't gonna lie.
No, made some good money. Stock market is booming. My opinion, I think when we're having a president that's doing his job, take it as you want it. Facts speak for themselves.
Yep.
I hope Trump resolution is less tweets.
I don't. I love the fact that we actually have him telling us what's going on. And it's the first time we've ever had a president who had that level of clarity. Yeah, it probably drives a lot of people crazy that he's tweeting so much or that he might be offending people. I'm like, you know what? If you're offended at all, and that's a you problem. That's not everybody else's problem. That's not a presidential problem. If you're offended, that's a you problem. And that's probably something you should deal with in 2020. So,
There you have it.
Jacob, any parting wisdom, any parting words?
Be safe. Don't drink and drive. And don't spend a whole lot of money for fireworks just for one day. Save your money, put it somewhere else. Start an account instead of spending money on. I know people that spend $600 on fireworks. Don't do that.
That's crazy. That's crazy, crazy. Oh, and one more thing for 2020, do some freaking push-ups. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year. See you next year.